Mark, in your opinion, why do you believe projects run over time and over budget?
Look, there are a lot of reasons, Andy.
Can you go back to your experience and give us some
Sure.
examples?
I think that principals not understanding what they actually want
Yep.
is one of the reasons. And just on the home ownership level, you have some people who aspire to own a home, they look at some drawings and they think that's fantastic, and then they go and stand in the house halfway through it being built and say things like, can you move that wall, right? Now, erasing some lines on a piece of paper is cheap. Moving a wall becomes very expensive.
Absolutely.
So understanding what you want before you start is really important. The next thing is not communicating what you want clearly. So the person who is doing it needs to understand from the person who wants it done what it is that they want done. And getting that right is very important. And we do that through a series of specifications and details and examples and sometimes mock-ups or reference to existing projects. So we go to a lot of effort to try and get that right. And we still don't always. And then you need to break the job up into bits to give it to the different parties that are going to do it. And you need to not leave things out. So people leave things out.
Yep.
And often they don't realise for a while. And then, of course, talking about change, somebody has to stand back and make sure that when we're building an elephant, we've contracted 4 legs. If we've only contracted 3 legs for this elephant and we've contracted them perfectly and the interface is right with the body, we're still not happy because we've left a leg out. And if we employ 3 different leg builders, they only know they're building a leg for an elephant. They don't know that there's a 4th leg that hasn't been built yet, right? So the elephant will fall over. So somebody's standing back and making sure there are no gaps.
Yep.
And almost as bad as gaps, Andy, are overlaps. Do not give the same responsibility to 2 parties because that will be expensive. You think, oh, look, one of them will just do it. But that's not what happens in reality.
Both of them won't do it.
Well, maybe both of them
Both
won't.
of them will
Maybe
do it.
both of them try to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe both of them see an opportunity. Maybe both of them do nothing for a long time until it becomes really expensive.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they don't notice.
Yeah, interesting.
So
let's move on to change.
sure,
Yeah, so
Change.
You were going to say something about change.
sure. So
I love this topic, man.
again, when we start to talk about change, we need to be crystal clear about why we're changing something,
Yeah.
what we expect, and then we need to check in to make sure that we're going to get what we expect with the change. Regularly, changes are more expensive than people estimate because changes cost more than the original job does.
Absolutely.
And not only
Because
that, but
you've now got to amend your budget, you've got to amend your timeline,
have.
you've got to now communicate that timeline, you're going to have a shit fight about why your critical path is impacted.
sure, there's going to be resourcing constraints. Increasingly in the construction industry, we've got resource constraints that have to be built into that. You know, if I have to do some extra work for you, then I can't put my people on the next job because they're still working for you. That's going to cost me money because I've probably, I hope, already made a promise to start the next job.
Yeah.
So I can't do that. So that gets expensive. So you have to then bear the costs of that. So the general rule in construction is don't change things unless you need to. And if you do need to...
But it is inevitable.
It is, Andy, it is. It often happens.
Well, it could be your government regulatory body.
It can be.
Okay, it can be a stakeholder. It could be design. It could be the client. It could be force majeure. It could be multiple different reasons
It
why
can
things
be.
change. But
there can be a big boulder under the ground where you didn't expect to see one. There's all sorts of reasons for change.
I'll tell you what. I've never written a program at tender that was delivered exactly the same as an as-built program.
That's right. So
Things change.
The critical thing with changes is that everybody understands why we're changing because the motivation is important. You need that for context. Everybody understands what is being changed and what the knock-on effects are. And often that last one is where you get caught.
Yeah.
It's the knock-on effects that people don't consider that end up having unintended consequences, additional costs, more design work being done while there's construction work being done. So now all of a sudden the designers are under pressure. They're more likely to make mistakes. The reviews are likely to miss things because the reviewers are under pressure and you get blowout in costs.
Yeah, 100%. And this all comes back to the effective communication that we were talking about.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. If people understood exactly what the client wanted, if the client understood exactly how the builders were going to build it, and the system designers were going to design the system, and the customers were going to interact with things. You know, in large airports and railway stations, sometimes it's not until you get customers in there that you find some of the challenges you face, and you need to make changes then. So,
Yeah, I've experienced that in airports, working on Auckland Airport. No, interesting. That's really cool insights, mate.